Is October 5th. Welcome to today's public EOC briefing. And I would like to turn it over to Dr. Cope.
Thank you, Patty. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's good to see you all. Just taking a second to pull up my slides. All right. Good morning. My name is Dr. Libby Cope. I'm the health officer for the Makah tribe and the health director here at Sophie Tredevick Indian Health Center. Our current case data in Nia Bay is that we have 19 active cases. We've had 119 cases total, a majority of which have been since August of 2021. We currently have 15 households who are active in quarantine, and we have 9 individuals who are in the same household with someone who has tested positive. And I'm just sharing that data as a bit of a predictor. It's not guaranteed that any of those individuals will get COVID, but if nothing else changed, those are certainly the people that are most at risk in terms of the level of exposure they've had to someone with COVID. And that also just assumes that no one else who's not in quarantine tests positive in the next week or so. As evidenced, I think, by the data that we're all aware of, we've had a pretty huge uptick just since August, like I mentioned. Up until then, we've had at most 7 cases in 1 month, and that was back in November 2020. So in August, we had 32, and in September, we had 65 total new cases. So far in October, we've had 4, which is a much slower rate of new cases from what we were at in both August and September. So that combined with what we're seeing in Collin County and Washington State has me somewhat hesitantly, but at least a little bit hopeful that we've had a break or a peak in our cases. So here's our age group breakdown for a number of cases for the entire pandemic. The majority of cases have been in our younger kids, ages 0 to 11, and then followed quickly by ages 18 to 34. After that, we've got those in ages 35 to 49 and a couple of the other age groups, but certainly most are in ages 0 to 11 and 18 to 34. For the month of September only, the majority of those cases have been in that age group of 18 to 34, which is consistent with what we've seen in regional areas as well. Our vaccine efforts have continued to kind of trickle in. Certainly, we had a really great vaccine response originally at the beginning of the vaccine efforts in January. Even in the midst of power outages and storms, we had a really great turnout. And then as we started to see more cases in August, we've had a number of people who weren't sure yet or didn't know if they would get it show up and get vaccinated, which is great. We've reached 81.6% of the population that's 12 and up as fully vaccinated. When you add that to our entire population, of course, kids are not eligible to get the vaccine, or younger kids are not eligible yet, but still having 63.7% of our whole residential population here in Nia Bay be fully vaccinated is quite remarkable. It's not quite up to herd immunity yet, or community immunity, but it's still a really great number and something that I hope our community feels proud of. And this just shows, oops, let me go back up. So for the month of September, where were our cases? Here, I've got to move this second. There we go. Cases who were unvaccinated versus fully vaccinated versus partially vaccinated. So very clearly, the majority of cases are in individuals who are unvaccinated. And this is true as well for the entire pandemic. So that last slide was just the month of September. This one shows for all of our cases throughout the pandemic. Collin County is also experiencing a decline in the rate of new cases and their percent positive, et cetera. So right now it's 11.26. For perspective, though, that is still considered very high. And for those of you who've been following this number throughout the pandemic, the goal is 2%. And we were frequently right around 2%, just above it, sometimes up to 5%. And so that number is still huge. And I don't want to lose sight of that. They have unfortunately had a large number of fatalities in the last couple of weeks due to this Delta wave, but their hospitalizations now are quite low compared to what they were at. I believe at the peak they were up to about 18 hospitalizations for COVID. And this just shows, just in graph form, what that decrease looks like for there. Washington State is peaking a little bit slower, which is what was predicted because Clallam County had a higher and faster wave due to lower vaccination rates. And we should see this start to drop off as well for Washington in the next week. Same for the United States. We're seeing a decrease in all of the metrics, the rate of new cases, tests, and hospitalizations and deaths as well. Some updates in the vaccine news that you might have seen. There is now a very, very strong recommendation for pregnant women or women who could become pregnant to get vaccinated. We've seen an increase in pregnant women being in the ICU and increase in rate of fatalities, and they're certainly very concerned about that population. It's also been added as an underlying condition for getting the booster shot, and really just want to encourage that anyone who could possibly become pregnant get vaccinated. It's safe. It's been shown to be safe in pregnancy or even just after pregnancy as well. So certainly anyone postpartum is strongly recommended to get the COVID vaccine also. FDA is scheduled to discuss Pfizer use for ages 5 to 11 on October 26th. Certainly this has been long awaited. So I hope that there's some good news then. And we should know more by the end of this month about interchanging vaccines. So for those who got Moderna, can they get the Pfizer boosters and vice versa? And I think my slides must have doubled. Anyways, the Johnson & Johnson is seeking authorization for the booster shot. And that is meant, I believe, to be discussed sometime this month as well. And that slide is just an extra one. And now I'll just pause for any questions. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you again to everyone for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Cope. From the tribe side, I started reviewing the small business applications that haven't been processed yet, and I hope to have that. There was the res line, but side. No. Well, I'd like to thank you all for attending today. Chief Bruner will be back next week. Thank you, Dr. Cope, for your presentation. Hope you all stay safe and have a good day. Thank you.